Hello, everyone. This is Avin Savani, just doing a quick asset management slash property management update video. So I'm just going to be walking through today, just like the simple softwares that we use for within the firm. I think it's always great as an asset management company to have some type of software you can communicate on, have like workflows, and ultimately get a lot of tasks done, and also keep accurate data and files accordingly, right? So few ones that we're going to walk through today. One is being Monday.com. So I know I'm kind of plugging a lot of cool resources here. So if you guys ever have a chance to just check it out, Monday.com is a great resource. They do have a paid version as well, which you can add more users on and have more members, like team members on board. So that is one of them. So that's what we use mainly for just all of our workflows. There is a lot of like confidential information on there, so I'm not going to actually walk you through it, but I would definitely refer you guys to that, because it really just goes through how to set up project tasks boards, and say if like you're handling like the acquisitions deal flow, and you have a lot of properties which you're underwriting on a daily basis, and you need to just keep track of, let's say, the brokerage firm, the email of the broker, and ultimately like the asking price, the bid price, and the steps in the closing process, right? So you can kind of tabulate it and organize it in a way where you can keep track of all of the leads that you have inquired about, right? So that's a great way to organize that. The other thing is just property management as a whole. So you can do this with all of your owner managed properties, right? So any type of properties which you are the owner and you're managing it as the landlord, you need to have some type of task board for each and every item that needs to get done within that property, right? So whether it's the HVAC, electrical, plumbing, structural issues, flooring, ceiling, roofing, right? You name it, anything that's associated with the property, interior, exterior, rehabs and renovations, you can detail it out into like a software like that. And then ultimately, any costs that are associated that you spend on subcontractors, other outside vendors, maintenance people, you need to keep an accurate P&L associated with that property, right? So that's kind of where we come from like the financial plus also just work management perspective, and how to actively manage our properties, right? So yeah, so for property management, it's always like day to day, whereas asset management, it's week to week. You're just checking in on the property managers and seeing how the property is performing. What are some major issues that have arisen in the last like few weeks or so? What are the action steps to resolve those issues, and ultimately bring a better performance from the property, whether that be occupancy, tenant activity, touring activity, right? And then managing like the expiring leases, and doing marketing for attracting new leases, right? So yeah, so that's kind of a quick overview of our work management system that we use on Monday.com. And then for our leases and ultimately our rent collection, we have kind of experimented with a few softwares. So few, I'm just gonna share the screen real quick, and I can show you which ones that we've kind of gotten into. So this is one, it's called Inago. By the way, both of these are completely free, so I would highly recommend it. And obviously like the paid property management softwares have more like advanced features and more like data analytics that you can kind of track the performance KPIs and that stuff. And that's really great and all. But I think when you're starting out, a free resource just like Inago or even Turbo Tenant, which is another one we've kind of screened through. These are great ways to just start to manage properties more effectively and drive revenue a lot higher, right? So yeah, so basically what you want with a property management software is essentially a way to track leases, right? That's the number one most important thing, way to track leases, track the income and expenses for like all of the rents and other maintenance requests and maintenance bills and stuff like that, right? Or if you already have like an accounting team on board who's handling all of the transactions day in and day out, there isn't really a need to track the income and expense in a software like this. Mainly, it's just meant for screening tenants, doing the leases, and making sure that tenants are actually kept up to date as far as any types of notices for inspections, maintenance updates, rehabs, of that sort, right? So that's a way to just establish a communication network with your tenants. And I think when you have a software like this, they also have added benefits such as like building tenant credit for making payments on time, and ultimately also setting up like auto pay, so they don't have to worry about the upcoming payments, right? And it also just makes the entire leasing process a lot smoother, in my opinion. So I would highly recommend. So main dashboard here, this we're going to go through Inago first. So Inago, you have like a good KPI kind of dashboard, which shows you how much is unpaid, how much is collected, and how much is outstanding as well. So you can view all of like the invoices here. So this will show you like the income expense tab for all of your properties. I just added a sample property here, but you also have your unsigned leases that are on this first page, any applications that you need to process through or approve, and then open maintenance requests associated with the properties, right? So all of your properties will be labeled out here. And actually, we're just going to add a sample property, just so I can show you guys what this process is, right? So let's just do 123 Main Street, Dublin, PA. Okay. So property name, let's just call it some multifamily project, right? Multifamily housing. So the type would be apartments, unit type. So you can add like a bunch of units to this. If it's like multi-units, then you just start adding all the units. Since this is residential, since it's multifamily, you want to lay out what the actual unit details are, right? So this is just one unit, for example. So you would start to link the bank accounts, add any late fees, if there are any, to this particular unit. Select the unit, whether it's fixed term or month to month, you decide that. So let's just give it like a 5-year lease here. Let's give it out to 2027. Let's do it in new term. All right, deposit, let's say 1,000, rent is 2,000, due on the first of every month. Let's say I already collected the deposit monthly. You can also do the payment frequency here. So this is very rough. Like, obviously it gets more into detail as you go, but this is just a way to just add a unit, you know, just start adding units to the projects which you're the owner of, the landlord of, right? So let's just say Joe Smith, generic name, or I'll just put my name. I don't want to offend anybody. So Avin Savani. Okay. Add your email, your phone number. And another thing that they'll ask is what types of application packages do you want, right? So without an email address, you are unable to send documents to be signed. So if you do add an email, let's just say I do add one of my other emails, right? Then it should give me the option. It should give me the option to go through the application process, right? So if you go next, it'll say, would you like to request renter's insurance? It's a great added benefit to a software like this. So if you select yes, then yeah. So here is, you can sign a lease through Inago. So what they'll do is they'll you can upload the lease agreement, whatever template that you have, and then start to edit it wherever it needs to get edited, right? So you'd edit and issue the lease. I don't need to sign a lease. So if you already did it like handwritten and it's already done, then you can just upload it straight through here, or you can just sign it through Inago. I don't know if there is a fee attached to this to signing leases, but I'm not too sure. All right, so let's just say we don't need to do any of that. Okay, so here is the property. So you have the properties here labeled with the tenants, and then you can edit the property, the location, whatnot, right? So also add the settings, add the bank accounts and the late fees, right? So this is all set. So this is just one example property which you can track. And it'll obviously allow you to upload any leases and files, documents associated with that property. So you can just click on it. You can see, you can upload a bunch of files to it. It doesn't matter. You can add like unlimited files to a property, right? So yeah, this is just one way to just store data in general. I would still recommend to back up all of those files into like Google Drive or on your desktop, just in case something goes wrong. So this is just a quick income expense tab. The maintenance items are here. So this is their maintenance process. It's very simple and straightforward. Obviously, maintenance requests can get more detailed and more advanced, but this is still like a nice simple way to just do it. Oftentimes some softwares, like for instance, such as Rent Ready, they offer like a minimum gap that if the maintenance request or the contract is anywhere over this dollar amount, make sure to notify the owner and approve that bill, right? So that's a cool feature that some softwares have. But here you can just quickly name something, add a file, like some pictures, videos, whatever. Select the property that it's associated with, number of units, who is it requested by, and then the category, just the basic categories, right? So if it's urgent, then you would label it urgent. If it's if you want to notify the tenant, then notify the tenant, right? So pretty straightforward, not too much going on there. This is your email messaging system just to communicate with tenants for upcoming events or like inspection dates and stuff like that, right? So you want to communicate through here. And obviously you can also list properties through here too. So you can create a new listing and just go through that process. So any upcoming, so say if you have like a 10 unit multifamily project, right? 8 out of the 10 are already leased out, 2 are currently vacant. Then you can advertise your listings through here. But you want to make sure that if you're not a licensed broker or a salesperson, you need to either get in touch with a broker and salesperson to actually list that to like the market, right? So to the MLS or other listing databases such as LoopNet, Crexi, apartments.com, all of that you may need to go through a broker and pay like brokerage commissions, right? So yeah, so that's the listing process. For the settings, it's pretty straightforward. You can set up just the general settings, allow like HOA tools, partial payments, application and tenant screening. So this is another huge thing. So application and tenant screening. So if we go to applications here, what it will do is that you'll have the option to create an application, right? So pretty simple application. So save the changes here. Okay, so here are your tenant screening settings. So you can do an application only, criminal plus credit, or criminal plus credit plus eviction. So this will be charged to the tenant upon signing the lease, right? So you want to make sure that you do this up front before anybody like actually occupies the facility, right? Or you sign any important leases, right? So just make sure that you're screening your tenants properly. So criminal reports, that'll just give a history of any types of criminal activities. Credit reports will just give either through the credit bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, or also FICO score, basically. And then eviction report will just give the past history of being a tenant and if there are any evictions related. So you can also include medical collection records, foreclosure history, automatically decline tenants with open bankruptcy. So a lot of risk mitigation strategies here with screening tenants. So that's always great. Now, obviously, it depends on the relationship that you establish with your tenant. If you think that they're a genuine, nice people, right? You probably want to be more lenient on that aspect, but at the same time, understand their background and what are the potential risks of if this tenant does not make payments. What are the necessary steps to go through the eviction process again, right? So yeah, so that's the tenant screening questions. Here's just some basic notifications. So you can notify the tenant when they make a payment, if the payment has failed, if resubmits like another rejected payment, overdue invoices, right? Notify you as the landlord if there are any maintenance requests, and updating any maintenance requests and whatnot. And then also when an invoice is coming up soon, like let's say 5 days from now, you can notify like 5 days in advance that, hey, there's a need to make a payment. You can make it now through like the portal, right? So every tenant is going to get situated with their own online portal, which they can either set up automatic payments, start building rent credit, and reviewing leases, communicating as far as the maintenance requests. All of those items are in that tenant portal. So yeah, and then also a notification for when the lease is expiring. So great. And then billing settings, those are just your bank accounts and credit and debit. There's a $2 fee for bank transfers, and then a 2.75% fee for ACH payments. So yeah, all right. So that was Inago. Really straight and simple. I would say for beginners, this is the best one in my opinion to use. I think it's pretty straightforward. It's not too confusing. You can upload everything. It only takes like maybe like a few weeks to get used to, and just making sure all of your properties are in line with everything. So really great free resource. Now, Turbo Tenant, another free resource. They also have like a paid premium version too. But we're just gonna walk through. So I'm also kind of new to this too, but this is just something simple that you can set up either with your property management company, or you can just track it on like a weekly basis with your property management company, if you're handling like a larger project, right? So typically, if you haven't checked out like the property management video that I did about screening property management companies, be sure to check that out. It kind of goes through like basically a step-by-step process of how to screen property management companies, especially if you're investing out of state. I highly recommend it. So yeah, so a software like this, always ask the property management company what type of software they're using. If it's not like one of the top ones, or even like a sophisticated one such as like Turbo Tenant or Inago, I would start to question that a little bit, because it's going to get hard to track everything, let's say on spreadsheets, and keeping things updated accurately, right? So highly recommend just investing in just a simple software like this. So basically what I would recommend is when let's say you do have a property under contract, you're going through the due diligence phase, and you're going to, let's say, renovate a lot of the units and bring it up to market. There's a period of time where you need to start figuring out all of the leases and start doing a little bit of marketing to attract tenants, right? So great way to just start that simple marketing process is through here. So you can pretty much list a lot of properties through here. So I'm just going to go through a simple setup here for this one right here. So this is just a sample property. So you can create a listing right here. So square footage, just rough build square footage. All right. So the date available, let's just make it available today. What is the desired lease term? Let's say contact for details. And then you can also get a rent estimate report, which kind of shows you what the average rents in those areas are. Now, obviously, I would recommend just using other sites like this. I mean, other more accurate data sites for rent estimations, or even just using like the brokers to find out what the average rents in the area are. So this just gives you a quick overview of the average rents. Yeah. So, okay, so it looks like we're a little bit over the amount. So let's just put it at like 3,000. Right? Actually, the deposit can't be higher than the amount. Okay. So do you allow smoking at this property? No. Yes. Let's just go cats, small dogs, occupancy limits. So there are some, so what Turbo Tenant does, and it's really helpful, is that they implement a lot of like the regulations and standards and other things to actually go by code, basically, right? So this is a really cool feature that not too many softwares do, but here's a quick HUD regulation report right here. So yeah, pretty cool. So occupancy limits, I would say no. Renter's insurance, that's always recommended. Utilities paid by the landlord. Let's just do like gas, water, and sewage. Amenities, I mean, the list goes on. Like you can just go through all this and actually filter it out, but this is just a test one. Oh, test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, 50 minimum. Okay, so test property. Let's just come up with something off the spot here. Beautifully renovated single family house. Comes with a pool, spacious backyard, plenty of parking space, external car garages, basement, is great for social gatherings, and style is 1980s Italian and French. Okay, cool. So just a quick description of their property. Start to add some photos. So it looks like a photo is required. So why don't we just upload a photo of myself just for test purposes. But okay, you can really start to get more extravagant with this list. This is probably like the worst listing, honestly. So you can publish the listing, right? So verify your phone and publish your listing. Skip marketing for now. Okay, great. So that's just one way to just create a quick listing. And then it creates it on Turbo Tenant, but it also, you can link it to apartment lists, Zumper, I've heard of, realtor.com, rent.com, RentPath, so many more listings sites. So You can also post it to Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. So I like the integration aspect of it. So that's really a great benefit. Some don't really have too many like integrations, let's say with even like a task management system such as like Google Calendar or Outlook Calendar, just to make sure that people or like your team can kind of stay on track about everything. But if you have people that are just regularly checking this, the property management company should be checking a software like this on a daily basis. You don't really need to have like a work management system kind of laid out. I would say when it starts to get larger, like this is for small landlords who want to kind of just start out and kind of get their feet wet in the industry. When you start to scale, you have a lot more people on your team. Then I would recommend doing like a work management software plus this type of software. So keeping track of literally all of like the maintenance requests and all of that kind of gets into that form. So for instance, Turbo Tenant does not have any maintenance requests. So that would be an issue as far as getting the property management team on board. So for instance, they said coming soon for property maintenance. So we'll email you when this is released. So this is something they're also developing. And I think it's really cool that they keep you like kind of informed about all of this, which is really nice. But yeah, other things to keep track with this type of software, you can add like lease templates. You can just upload the lease agreements straight up, and then associated with the properties. So really easy to follow along, in my opinion. And then this form tab is really good. So this form tab pretty much gives you like all of the forms needed for property management companies. So here are just a few to just kind of go through: lease agreement addendum, cosigner agreement, pet addendum, condition report, move out, move in, security deposit, closing statement. Obviously, you can just create these all yourself, but I mean, it's worth kind of just investing into this. I think it's like 100 something, 145 for literally all of those forms. And you don't have to kind of, I would still review most of them with your attorney, just to make sure that it's like state specified. But other than that, it's a really good added value. Here you see a state specific lease agreement. You can just upload a lease agreement that you did in your state and then go through that process. So an addendum, by the way, is just like a like an edited version of the original lease agreement. So it might have like other additional clauses, or maybe like the rent amount wasn't specified, or the commencement and expiration weren't specified. So an addendum is just a revised version of the original lease agreement. But yeah. So some pretty cool stuff. Property management make ready checklist. I'm actually going to share that checklist with you guys in the near future. This is a really good thing to just provide to like a property management company. It's pretty simple, and it kind of just goes through just the basic things, let's say for commercial properties to keep updated and for residential properties to keep updated as well. And then a preventative maintenance schedule. So something such as like winterizing pools, sprinkler blowouts, duct cleaning, a lot of other things that you need to keep track on like a seasonal basis. The preventative maintenance schedule is something also to develop as well. You got estoppel certificates, property rules, regulations, trust account ledgers for security deposits, noise complaint letters, move in or move out cleaning checklists, lead paint disclosure, a lot of great stuff. Like this is a lot of great added value that not too many softwares do. But this one right here, which is just other leads that you can track, you can screen a tenant through here as well. So they also go through the same type of screening process. So for instance, this one right here, if I just give like a quick name right here, I'm just going to do it to my other email. Let's just do just email. So I'm going to invite the guy for this. So here you go. So, excuse me. TransUnion is going to do like a credit report on them, right? So this is also, okay, what is this? So I think this is something to just go through and just to see if it's kind of okay and it's easy to kind of work through. But for instance, I didn't get the notification for this. Oh, okay. So just select no thanks. Okay. So here are the next steps. They will fill out an application and pay a $55 fee. So fees are pretty high, in my opinion. The Inago one was pretty low at $35, but it's not terrible. It goes through credit, background, and eviction checks and a nice screening report. So yeah, so they'll get a notification on their email to just go through that process. And then I'm pretty sure that the tenants also have their own portal to track like all of the necessary items within like leases, requests, and communications, right? So that's really great. You can start adding tenants here. So I like the setup. It's very simple, just has like a nice tabular side section right here. You can just go through. It also has a nice accounting tab. So accounting is not free. So again, I still recommend doing your own accounting rather than tracking it through a software like this. What you can do for this, since it is collecting rents, you can just extrapolate the income side of it, right? So obviously, like rent and CAM amounts are revenue income, right? So all of the payments that tenants make, like the charges, the deposits, the CAM amounts, right? All of that stuff, if it's like a triple net lease too, like taxes and insurance too, all of those payments can be tracked through here, and you can just export it into an Excel where you can actually track it more efficiently through there too. But another software, free software that we also use is Wave Apps. Wave Apps is a great, just a financial and accounting software. So you can also track it on a nice tool like that as well. But yeah, so really it's a matter of, let's say that you are selling the property off like this year. You need to provide the broker with a T12 and a rent roll for that property. Then it's good to extrapolate some data from here, which kind of goes through the T12 and the rent roll, right? So the rent roll and the T12, you want to just do that on like a separate Excel sheet and just provide that to the brokers so that they can market it and provide like due diligence documents to interested investors, right? So yeah, really cool stuff. I think a software really speeds up a lot of the day-to-day processes, which kind of take a lot of time. If you are managing all of this, let's say through like Google Drive and Excel, things can kind of get unorganized in a sense. But if you are kind of an organized person, you like to kind of keep track of everything, a nice software like this can really be an added benefit. So yeah, highly recommend either TurboTenant and Nago, some great free resources. All right, so let me stop sharing the screen here, and I'll just walk through a quick recap. Okay, so we went through the basic duties with property management, right? It's making sure that maintenance requests are being handled, making sure that your occupancy is high as it can be, doing tenant like touring activities, signing leases to tenants, making sure that you actually approve that with the asset management team too. So the asset management and the property management should coordinate on literally every lease that is signed, right? So every lease that is signed, both of those teammates should coordinate. Now, from the asset management's perspective, it's more weekly, right? So you're just checking in, reviewing the software, like I mentioned, one of these, going through like the payments that are being recorded, making sure that they're all reconciled. And then for the asset management, drafting like the P&L and the balance sheet, the financials basically, and making sure that there are no outliers or miscellaneous expenses which weren't categorized, and ultimately providing that to your tax professional, like your CPA, for your tax year-end tax returns, right? So tax season is coming up right around the corner. So I'm sure a lot of asset managers are doing that. And that's something that we are also doing for each and every property that we have, or each corporation entity structure that we've set up. We have a separate P&L for each and every one. We reconcile that with the bank, and then we submit those necessary documents to our CPA professional, right? So really, taxes can get kind of a headache, and it's also an added benefit to know like the ins and outs of tax deductions and write-offs and other savings that you can make on your taxes. But I'm not a professional tax advisor, so I would refer you guys to someone who is. But yeah, so it's a busy time of year. I think this is probably December through like March is kind of gets a little busy. And then obviously towards like the end of or middle of April, when taxes are due, that also gets busy as well. So yeah, so this is just a quick insight into property management, asset management. And also, I'm not going to stop here, by the way. So basically, asset managers should have a solid financial background. You should have a good eye on the capital markets, what interest rates are, what banks are offering for lending terms, right? So I think the different loan offerings out there is something that you should really keep a track on. So for instance, you either have conventional or non-conventional financing. You also have other financing avenues such as seller financing, creative financing, subject to deals, and whatnot. So there's a lot of cool options out there. I think it's good to just exercise each and every option that's feasible for your project and see where you can meet those financial requirements, right? So I'm gonna do another video on just like financing terminology, loan offerings. I know I already did one for just like the keeping like an analysis tab for your mortgages, right? But I'll also do another one just going through like different loan offerings out there and just reviewing what the best offerings that you can apply for, right? So newer investors will obviously have a tougher time with applying and getting approved for a loan. But there are some really great starting strategies that, like, so for instance, like 0% down, 3.5% down, other non-conventional strategies where beginners can really establish themselves in the financing world. So yeah, I'll keep you guys posted on that. Some other videos that I'll definitely look into is just market analysis. I'm going to be doing a lot of like data analytics and market analysis into the markets that we operate in. But just a quick overview on that. So we track each and every market that we invest in from a job and population growth standpoint, median household income affordability standpoint, the property values standpoint as well, like rent growth, property values, average rents, all of those metrics we track. And then also just like contractor activity too. So I think contractor activity is really important when you're an investor, because when there is a lot of good contractor activity, supply is increasing pretty rapidly. Demand is simultaneously increasing with it, but not at the same pace. That presents an outstanding buying opportunity. So I think that's where markets can really start to get like undervalued, and especially when you have like a growing economy, You have a lot of great contractors, design firms, architect firms that are like producing a lot of great creative projects that can really be huge impact on the real estate. It has an impact on values because obviously increased supply is going to lower property values, right? And also a demand which is either stabilized or kind of stagnating a little bit. That also presents a huge buying opportunity, right? So I highly recommend for you or encourage you guys to just research more into different markets which have those characteristics. Because I think multifamily right now is a really hot market. I would get into it right now since uh, with interest rates, mortgage payments, and debt, capital markets are kind of out of sorts. But you see kind of like rents stabilizing a bit or even declining to, in a sense, weakening demand in some areas. And if you find those areas where like contractors are doing the most activity, more development is happening. I think that's a great way to get in. So yeah, just gonna do a few videos on market and data analytics and just overviewing different markets. So keep tuned for that. Other than that, I'll still keep you guys updated as far as like underwriting. Underwriting is huge in real estate. It's like a bird's eye view, honestly. Whenever you're into a deal. Right now, we're kind of like taking a really conservative approach with our deals. We have a lot that kind of go through the pipeline, but we're kind of just filtering it out to narrowing it down really to what can really work as a feasible return structure for us, right? So yeah. And then I'll also be talking more about the syndication structure in later videos and seeing how we're progressing with that, like limited partner relations and keeping good communications with them for upcoming deals. I think that's huge. So yeah, a lot of things, a lot of great things to just cover in the next like 3-4 weeks or so. So I'm just going to keep grinding out these webinars and I'll keep you guys posted. So I appreciate it. Thank you guys for the time and look forward to it.